Hey guys, it's Mighty, and in today's video, I'll be reviewing one of the pads that I've been waiting probably the longest for to get, of course, is the Kurosun Ninja. This pad originally came out in the summer, and I wasn't able to get it during the drop, but since it re-released in November, I got it as soon as it came out, and I've been loving it since I got it. One problem that I did have with it was that it did come with surface wrinkles when my first one came, but they immediately replaced it when I reached out to customer support, and they sent me out one completely for free. I'll put up a picture of what my original looked like when it first arrived, just so you have reference. Based on what they said, they haven't experienced something like that before, so it probably won't happen to you. Now to get into the actual pad, mostly everybody knows now that this is a speed-oriented pad. It's very similar to something like the Artisan Raiden, which I will be comparing it to later in the video. This pad is very smooth and doesn't have any texture at all. The entire Kurosun logo right here is not embedded into the surface, and you can definitely feel it when you rub your hand over. So that's one thing to pay attention about. Mostly, I don't think people will have a problem with this, but that's just one thing to point out. Now to jump into the stitching. The stitching feels surface level, maybe a little bit higher. It doesn't catch on any of the arm sleeves, or if I use this pad with my bare arm, it's very smooth, doesn't have any resistance at all. Even if I move it up and down, there's nothing catching. But if you are worried that the stitching would be a little bit too high, I wouldn't be concerned about that. It feels completely fine for me. Now getting to the base, this base is extremely strong. It comes with a protective layer out of the box, and once I put it on my desk, this thing does not budge. It's basically stuck on like an Artisan X-Soft, but with a mid surface. And it's really nice to play on, it doesn't go anywhere. The surface is a nice bounce back feeling. As soon as I lift off my finger, it bounces back, so it's very dense. It's slightly softer than a normal Artisan Mid. And if you want to take a look at the surface, this is what it looks like. It does have a sticky feeling a little bit. And to point out the stitching, what it looks like. Now getting into how the pad reacts with different skates. Of course, to start off, we have the X-Ray Pad Obsidians, the X-Ray Pad Pros, which I made a review on last week, Tiger Ice V2 skates, and finally, Core Pads. To first get into Obsidian skates, this pad feels amazing with them. There is no tug, there's very, very little resistance. I can do very fine micro adjustments, and there's hardly any stopping power. I like this pad a lot due to that. The dynamic friction and static friction is very low as well. There's basically nothing keeping this mouse from moving around, and it's very easy to start and stop. Moving on to the Obsidian Pros. These skates, like I said last week in my review, it's like they get stuck onto the pad, if that makes sense. Now to get into the Obsidian Pros. These skates, like on every pad I tried before, I don't like them. It doesn't feel good, doesn't feel consistent, feels very slow, very grippy, very controlled. If that's something you're into, these are good skates for you. But it's just not what I'm looking for with a speed pad like this. Now for Tiger Ice, it's fast, but it doesn't feel smooth. There is definitely a texture when I move my mouse over it, even though the pad is completely flat. And it overall just does not feel the greatest to play on with Tiger Ice skates. With Core Pads on the other hand, it's even smoother than the X-Ray Pad Obsidians. I can't wait to try this pad with Jades, which I do plan on getting when they get restocked in Lethal Gaming. But it feels really smooth, really nice. I have no complaints at all. And out of all the skates that I have, I would consider these to be the best skates to use on this pad right now. Now to compare this pad to, of course, the Artisan Raiden. When I start to press in, I can definitely feel the difference in sponginess and in stiffness. This pad is definitely softer when I compare it side by side to the mid, but it's not that big of a difference. And I don't feel any difference when I'm pushing down with mouse gates, either dot or normal, into both these pads. I'll do a little bit of a glide test. Other than that, this pad is very, very slightly slower than the right mid. When I'm moving them across both, they both feel extremely similar. The ring just has a little bit less dynamic friction, so the mouse does seem to go farther, and it takes less force to get the mouse actually moving. While this, it's a little bit more controlled. There's a little bit more force that needs to be put into the mouse to actually get it moving. But I would say that these are equal. This is the pad that has come the closest for me to an artisan mid in terms of speed, base, which I forgot to mention. Both of these bases are immaculate. They're very, very similar. Might I even say that the Kurosun has a better base than the Raiden mid. Other than that, these pads are very similar and I like them both a lot. The Kurosun would probably be my favorite just because, one, the design, and two, it's nice to have a slightly slower but still fast pad. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time. Peace.
Me and Lil Fezzo, we in that Benz. I walk alone, I don't need no friends. If you slide down on Lil Fezzo, then I might have to pull up on you and then you might meet Joe. I got a Barbie and she call me Ken. This chopper gon' make his head blow in the wind. Since you wanna steal my line, I'ma steal yours too, but your music is going to bend. I feel like Fago, I'm trapped in a box.